So this article that I'm writing is called Your Feminism is Cockblocking My Matriarchy. And I think it's very funny. It's going to ruffle a few feathers. No pun intended. Okay. But I don't call it controversial because controversies are things that people are arguing about. There's like a back and forth, right? There's no back and forth with this. This is just a dangerous idea. And what is a dangerous idea? It's basically an idea that people are just not considering or talking about, or few people are talking about. And those people are often considered strange. So I am strange. Anyway, we are going to be talking about feminism and why I think it is cock-blocking my matriarchy. But it's kind of a difficult conversation to have because so many of the words that I'm going to be using are loaded, and they're loaded for a reason. And I'll get to that. But it just makes it kind of a difficult conversation to have because these words are loaded with assumptions, or they don't fully make sense. Yeah. Okay, well, let's get into it. Okay, so I have my article here that is not completely written, but I just want to talk about it. The thing with ideas, they're social. Like they need to be worked out, like with other people. Like I can't just do it all in my own little head because I've got an ego and I've got biases and I've got like limited information, limited experience. I have enough humility to know that whatever is going on in here, these ideas, they might not even be good. You know, they might be completely wrong. So I'm approaching this topic today with humility. So please understand that I may be completely crazy and wrong. And it might be a good idea, but it might not make sense now. I want to work it out and I want to see what you all think about it. Please don't go away. Hear me out first. If this video ends up being long, which I suspect it's going to be about 40 minutes long, go check out the article that I will put on Curious Quill, which is my Substack, and it will take you maybe 5 or 10 minutes to read it before coming in with a hot take. Please just give me that grace. I'd really, really appreciate it. In fact, please give everybody the same amount of grace because it's what we need. All right. So what inspired this article was I was watching a short on YouTube because I'm not on Instagram anymore. And this gal was talking about, what was it called? It was about the cult of domesticity. And she was talking about the problem with it and its roots in even white supremacy and patriarchy is that it was calling women to serve. It was telling women that this was their higher purpose. This was their highest purpose. But it was just kind of a religious way, or a psychic candy sort of way of getting women to behave, to obey the patriarchy. And she was saying that, you know, how wrong that is, you know, because what it was doing was it was making women serve men. And, and, you know, and I was thinking about that, not really seeing the problem with serving, but do seeing the problem with just serving specifically men. I believe in service. I believe that a collaborative community, a non-competitive community, does involve service. It involves all of us serving each other. So that kind of struck a nerve with me. Also, my dad used to say, and he's very actually conservative, but he's also atheist. And he would tell me that ideas like the meek shall inherit the earth, the verse about the camel going through the eye of a needle.
And I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God.
You know, all of those things, those were designed to keep people obedient to Caesar, to the kings, not necessarily to God. So he too, kind of saw that as a psyop. But I believe in service. Anyway, but I just wanted to say that's what inspired me to write this. It kind of as a rebuttal for this, in how I personally think it's time to go beyond feminism, to swim out and dunk under all of those waves and get to something that is more post-feminist. Okay, so your feminism is cock-blocking my matriarchy. So here's what I'm thinking. That feminism is the Band-Aid, not the cure. We slap it over the wounds of patriarchy, hoping the bleeding will stop. But the bleeding doesn't stop because the infection is the system itself. A culture built on conquest, competition, and dominance. So patriarchy doesn't just oppress women, but it shapes the words we speak and even the alphabet we learned as children, which reinforces linear and binary thinking and symbolic ranking, which these are very hierarchical things. They're very patriarchal things, and they are like the machine language of the system that we are in. Well, that's for another video. I'm not sure anybody would watch it, but it would be for another video. So I'm not going to get it. If that's something you want me to talk about, I would be happy to. Just let me know. Maybe that would be a good live, because that would kind of require maybe some back and forth. Anyway, so the language that we use is loaded with centuries of assumptions designed to keep us obedient. It's not just keeping women obedient. It basically feeds Scooby treats to the egos. Why is that black helicopter? I got a black helicopter over me. I don't know. Oh, it's a red helicopter. That's a red helicopter. They're designed to kind of keep us in our place. Even the things that we're arguing about, even the controversies. They keep us going back and forth and never like looking at anything else.
The smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum, and even encourage more critical and dissident views within it. It gives people the sense that there's free thinking going on, while all the time the presuppositions of the system are being reinforced by the limits put on the range of the debate.
I'm getting excited, and it's kind of hard to explain, but we tell men that they're like the kings of the castle, but they're really usually often not. It's usually like the women who are like in our society, we have the family, which is a hierarchical structure, and it's designed to make men feel like they're leaders, but really it's kind of like women controlling the men and keeping them from being destructive or sitting in their basement and doing nothing. Or, I mean, I firmly believe this. I feel very scattered today, but I firmly believe this, that women are being used to subdue men. I mean, that's kind of the whole idea of like marriage and everything, making sure there's, a woman for every man so that they don't become destructive. I don't like it, and I think that there's a better way. Feminism tried to fix all of it. And in many ways, it did. And I'm so grateful for it. As it gave women doors we couldn't have imagined, rights we were denied, spaces to exist beyond the home. It kept us alive, and it gave us safety to think about things. Or at least it gave other women, like besides people who had great privilege, like Simone de Beauvoir, Simone Weil, Virginia Woolf, who always had that safety and time and space to think about things. So they kind of started, to get things rolling. But like the average person, the average woman did not have the safety to think about things like feminism. So feminism, normalized a lot of things. And, like right now, I'm going to argue that while we might have the safety to think about these things, even to think about dangerous ideas, one might argue that time has been weaponized against our thinking. Like, I have a little more time than most women to think about things. And that is because I defy patriarchy. And that is also another video, one that you might actually want to watch. So let me know. But yeah, I actually defy patriarchy in order to get that time so that I can think. And it does involve some privilege as well. And I have that privilege, and I'm grateful for it. But most of us, we're so busy doing this and that and hustling, trying to pay our bills, trying to take care of our family. We don't really have the time, right? So it's kind of been weaponized against us. And here's another video. And I kind of blame feminism a little bit for that. It's not really feminism. It's just that the status quo was able to leverage feminism to get us to hustle more. Here's the thing. In chasing equality within a patriarchal system, which had to be done, I think feminism forgot to question whether the system itself should exist. Because what good is climbing the ladder when the ladder only leads to a throne built on someone else's back? Now, I realize that intersectional feminism does question patriarchy, and it does talk about this very concept. But it hasn't quite left the structure of patriarchy, okay? I mean, it's still using the tools of patriarchy. And that's what I'm talking about, is to stop using the tools. And some of those tools that intersectional feminism uses is like shame tactics, kind of radical tactics that are designed to leverage hierarchies and to create new hierarchies. And that is patriarchal. In fact, shame is patriarchal, like just trying to create hierarchies to where what was once up here is now below here. And, that is just the machine of patriarchy. That is what would you call it? So the structure doesn't change, and they continue to worship at the altar of competition and dominance. The only difference is they're competing. They're competing for the narrative. They're competing for dominance over those who don't conform to their way of thinking. It's a problem. I see it as a problem. It's almost like feminism joined the same church as patriarchy. They sit in different sections of the church, but it's the same church. We were promised equality, but what we really got was equal opportunity to grind ourselves down, to wear all the hats all the time, and to be all that we could be. So the right-wing tradwives often talk about this, which makes it totally taboo for left-winged feminists to discuss. Have you ever considered that we may have the lock while they have the key? And all these social taboos are designed to literally keep us from opening the door together. Not everything is a pipeline to some extreme political ideology. That is a mental trap. That is an emergent psyop, my friend. And I hear it all the time. Like if you veer off script, let's say you're on the left wing, you veer off script. If you veer off script at all, the extreme are going to say, you're in the pipeline to the alt-right. And the same goes on the other side too. Some version of that. Here's the thing, with patriarchy. Because I'm not anti-men. It's a cult that doesn't even serve most men as well. Gentle, collaborative, poetic men are often excluded, unless they have a lot of money. The scientist, the philosopher, the truth seeker, anyone who's loyal to the truth rather than hierarchy gets sidelined. So if you're someone who's very truth-oriented versus someone who's loyal to your leaders, you get sidelined. In this world, truth is less important. Truth is Truth is what the leader says. And not all men were meant to be leaders and warriors. Like in Plato's Republic, Socrates' idea was, he addressed that. Not all people were meant to be leaders and warriors. He addressed that women and men could equally be leaders and warriors. But the society should be arranged in a way for people who were best, who would make the best warriors to be warriors, and people who would be the best philosophers to be philosophers. But in today's society, it seems like we're supposed to be everything, all of it. And, men are definitely forced into this mold of feeling like a warrior or a leader, even if it's not their calling. We're all performing unpaid labor by doing all the things, by trying to do all the things in a system that takes everything it can and leaves exhaustion behind. And why do you think that we're always fighting at each other? We should be fighting up, not at each other, because it's not each other, that we are not the problem. It's the exhaustion. We're tired. And when you're tired, you don't think straight. When you're tired, you lash out at the one who's right next to you. That's just how it goes. That's how humans work. I'd wager that nearly as many men feel pumped and dumped by the patriarchy as women do. Sorry, I'm being so crude. I'm feeling randy today. But it's even more taboo for men to name patriarchy as their problem. Many cling to it as a promise. Like they think that the thing that's keeping them down is going to get them out. But for most men, it's also their bridle. And everyone plays this game, either as a promise or a necessary evil. And as we do, we make it even more solid. And feminists tend to play this game. They play it out. They want that dominance. They want to compete. They want to get at the top. They think they want to conquer. They want to conquer patriarchy. You know what I mean? They want to conquer patriarchy, but it's not going to work that way. We are not breaking the glass ceiling. We're just polishing it with our mullets. I'm sorry. Or we're finding another way around. And the ceiling is not cracking. We're not breaking it for the rest of us. It's not really working that way. What we need to do is to tear down the foundation that upholds the glass ceiling. We need to either tear it down or build something new somewhere else or even within it, because we can do that. The Amish did it. The Amish built something new within the United States that is completely different. And then there's also the communities. I mean, there's a lot of intentional communities that are already doing it. Like if you want to live in a non-capitalistic, patriarchal way, you can do that. I'll leave a link to a website, where you can explore these opportunities. Anyway, so what is the alternative? What is the alternative thing that we can build? I think it's a matriarchy. But the problem with matriarchy, the word is it's loaded. And it's, let's define what I mean by matriarchy, because I don't mean women sitting on thrones, handing down orders like patriarchs in drag. I mean a system that is organized around care, collaboration, and tending life itself. Some might call it communitarianism. Some might call it anarchism. So remember when I talked about how these words are loaded? Like communitarianism sounds too much like communism, right? Anarchism is, when most people think of anarchism, they think of Sid Vicious. They think of punk, right? Skinheads, violence even. But most anarchism is not performed in a violent way. It's an economic system. It's both an economic and political system. So think the Catholic workers. They are an anarchist Christian group. They're communitarian. And they live in communes and share resources. And I guess that is as scary as communism. But the difference is with communism is that there is usually initially a ruler that is installed that is somewhat authoritarian in the beginning until things work its way, through the system to where they can actually be more egalitarian, more communitarian, but I don't think that's ever worked. So communitarianism is usually smaller communities. It's decentralized. We don't have a central authority. And with the Catholic worker, based on the idea that you are a follower of God and not man, not Caesar, not the ruler. In my dream Quaker life is sort of like the Catholic worker, but not in a commune. Like the commune, you outsource the commune, if that makes sense. A lot of people say that Jesus was a communist, but really, I think he was an anarchist. Do you know the painting The Peaceable Kingdom? Or how about like in Acts? What is it? Acts 2:46. Right after the Pentecost, all who believed were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need. They were continually devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and prayer. So I think that is the verse that inspires the Catholic worker and any other kinds of Christian anarchism, which, some Quakers might consider themselves Christian anarchists. So that's matriarchy, but the name is loaded. It's terribly loaded. In fact, the idea of it is it's not supposed to be gendered. It's not supposed to serve a gender. It's supposed to serve a community, the future. It's supposed to serve children. It's supposed to sustain life for the group. That's the idea behind it. And people will sometimes say, like people who are matriarchist or people who also believe that a matriarchal structure would be best, might kind of even shame you if you were to say, well, I don't want I don't want a woman telling me what to do. That person might shame you, might say, no, don't you realize it's about egalitarianism? It's not about that at all. But the word itself, matri means woman and archy does imply hierarchy. So that the name does mean a hierarchy led by women. So don't let them shame you because the word itself means that. But we don't have a better word because of patriarchy. Because all the words are loaded. Egalitarianism is loaded because it implies lots of social control, right? And that's an issue, So, but with matriarchy, it's more like a mindset. It's the mindset of love, like love your neighbor. And it leads to decisions that don't require constant fixing and balancing and shifting like egalitarianism does. And of course, anarchy is completely loaded because of punk and violence, and because in the first definition in the dictionary is like no law, no government whatsoever. But for the Catholic workers, they are dedicated, they are loyal to God. They are loyal to the kingdom of heaven, and that is their law. But it also means that comes first before actual government. Given that language is so fraught with patriarchy, hierarchy, control, and all of that, maybe we shouldn't have a word at all. Maybe we should just have a knowing. Because even the alphabet we learned as children reinforces linear and hierarchical binary ways of thinking. Each letter is discrete, distinct, and in a fixed order. A comes first, naturally the alpha. Then you have beta, and we know what we think about betas. And the rest just falls in line behind it. It's not relational, it's not fluid. Like patriarchy is like, there's the best and then there's nothing else. Like, if you can't be the best, there's no need to exist. I mean, it's shit like that, right? So it's very difficult to have this kind of conversation with this dangerous idea because there's no primer for it. Every time we talk about power, freedom, or rule, the status quo whispers its assumptions, and suddenly cooperative, life-sustaining leadership becomes evil. Like those ideas become evil. They become controversial. But that's only because patriarchy has defined the conversation for us all along. So there's no language for it. The language that we use has completely become fraught. Anarchy, egalitarianism, matriarchy. We just don't have the language for it. So this is where my beef with the whole idea of what was it? The cult of domesticity. Why I think that's wrong. The idea of telling women that service is wrong. The idea that telling women that service is good is wrong. Does that make sense? Because it's not wrong. I believe we should all be service oriented. That's love driven. I believe that we should all be that way. The problem with the cult of domesticity is that we didn't invite the men to this too. We should all, I feel, if we want a collaborative, loving system that doesn't compete and dominate and try to conquer, we need to be service-oriented. Service is the quiet, crazily radical act of sustaining each other. We can't do it alone. We can't survive on our own. We need a community. If we're going to be we can't be self-sustaining. It doesn't work. We need each other, and we need each other's talents and gifts. And some of these things are unseen, like the patriarchy tries to name, what is good and what is bad. But it doesn't see everything. It doesn't know what we're going to need in the future. There are so many gifts and things we bring to the table that we don't know are gifts yet. I don't know. I'm leery of the idea of making things like service and softness and empathy and compassion and all these things and making them out like they're weak, because they're not weak. They're the strongest weapon we have against what is going on today. That's why they're trying to weaken them. That's why they're trying to say that these are, bad. They want this out of the way. They don't want us helping each other. They want us at each other's throats. They want us fighting each other. They do not want us serving each other. They want us serving them. But the psyop is real. And I don't think it's really I don't really think it's like a conspiracy theory, like necessarily like someone designed the psyop, but maybe they did. I think that it's emergent. I think it's the patriarchal system being alive and being self-preserving. So all things fall in place to keep it alive, just like our bodies keep us alive. And let me give you an example of where we give much more credence to something that is domineering or conquering, versus something that is much more service-oriented. Why are there more male chefs than there are female chefs? And why are there more female cooks than there are male cooks? And that is because a cook is a service-oriented job. It's, usually in a home or an organization, but it's service-oriented. Whereas your chefs are always trying to get those Michelin stars, those Michelin ratings. Because patriarchy tells men who want to cook, who love to cook, but it tells them that that's not valuable unless it's not valuable to do it for service, because our system demeans service because it's dangerous to the system. But instead it tells men to conquer the art of cooking, to conquer it. It's something to conquer. It's not a service. What you need to do is you need to make it an art of cooking and make it available only to those with great privilege. And I know like there's some gripers online, or like, guys in the manosphere who use that as evidence, like that because there are more male chefs than female chefs, that they use that as evidence of male superiority. But I see it as evidence of dominance conditioning only. The battery cut off, and you know what though? I think I said enough. I think you get what I'm talking about, right? I think I've said enough. I'll put the article on Curious Quill, if you want to read it. If you want to read something a little less scattered. Other than that, I'm just wandering through my backwoods, and I want to go. I haven't seen there's like a creek down there, but I haven't seen it in a long time because it's been summery and snaky. There's still snakes out here, but it's just been like the forest is thinning out now. There's less bugs, less spiders. It just feels more passable. So I'm gonna go check it out, and just I see some color down here, some beautiful color, and some deer, but they're all running away. So pretty. And sunny. Look how beautiful. Almost, it's like 75 degrees at least. Like there's a dam. Interesting. See the neighbors over there, they tear down the beaver dam all the time. They don't like the beavers. Look how shimmery everything is. This is so pretty. So shimmery and pretty. Oh my gosh. I love it.